This is Siberia, a land where time itself can seem literally frozen in place. Beneath its layer of permafrost, traces of life from tens of thousands of years ago can remain almost perfectly preserved. Yet paradoxically, on this very same land, cultures and communities that endured for centuries can vanish in just a handful of generations. A place capable of holding on to the past for 50,000 years, yet one where other things can disappear so quickly that people barely have time to notice. So what's really lying beneath this vast, frozen expanse? Siberia stretches from the Ural Mountains in the west, all the way to the shores of the Pacific in the east, a total area of more than 13 million kilometers, making up nearly 3/4 of Russia's territory. But despite its enormous size, only about 1/4 of Russia's population actually lives here. Most of the land remains virtually empty. To put that scale in perspective, if Siberia were its own country, it would rank as the second largest in the world by land area, second only to Russia itself, and even bigger than Canada. From north to south, the region divides into 3 distinct vegetation zones: the frigid, treeless tundra at the far north, then the taiga, the largest forest in the world, and finally, steppe grassland in the southwest. Three massive rivers flow through this land, emptying into the Arctic Ocean: the Ob, the Yenisei, and the Lena. One Russian revolutionary once took the name of the Lena River as his own alias. That alias would later become one of the most recognized names of the entire 20th century: Lenin. And beneath this entire vast expanse of land, nearly 2/3 of the area sits atop permafrost, permanently frozen ground, reaching depths of nearly 1,400 meters in some places. Living in a place like this, how do people truly adapt to such bone-deep cold? In the Sakha Republic, in northeastern Siberia, 2 places are considered the pole of cold for the entire northern hemisphere: the village of Oymyakon and the town of Verkhoyansk. Temperatures here have been recorded dropping to as low as -67.7 degrees Celsius. The city of Yakutsk, the region's capital with more than 350,000 residents, is also considered the coldest large city on the planet, built entirely on a foundation of permafrost. In winter, cars here are often never turned off, because if the engine shuts down, it may never start again. And sometimes, even the tires can deform, or even crack. There's also a phenomenon known as ice fog. when warmth escaping from homes, vehicles, and even people themselves can't rise into air that's simply too cold, sometimes reducing visibility to just a few meters. When temperatures drop below -52 degrees Celsius, children in Oymyakon are let out of school. Yet there's an interesting paradox. In this, one of the coldest places on the planet, summer temperatures can sometimes climb past 30 degrees Celsius. And ironically, the name Oymyakon actually means unfrozen water, named after a nearby hot spring. And every year, right in the middle of this seemingly unbearable cold, the village of Oymyakon still holds a festival called the Pole of Cold. The central figure of the festival is Chiskan, the Lord of Cold, a folk figure believed to reside right here in this icy land. Locals hold reindeer races, dog sled races, and even go ice fishing on frozen lakes. Perhaps that's how the Saka people face such extreme conditions, not by avoiding it, but by turning it into a reason to celebrate together. Except not everyone chose to live in a place this brutal by their own free will. To understand why, we need to go back several hundred years in history. Long before the Russians ever arrived, Siberia was already home to numerous indigenous peoples: the Saka, the Buryat, the Evenk, the Nenets, the Chukchi. They lived by herding reindeer, fishing, and hunting, preserving shamanic beliefs that had endured for thousands of years. By the 16th and 17th centuries, Russian fur traders began pushing eastward in search of the prized sable. Leading the charge was a Cossack chieftain named Yermak. In just about 60 years, these expeditions crossed a stretch of territory as wide as the entire North American continent, largely by following a connected network of rivers. The driving force behind this rapid conquest was simply one commodity: fur. In the 17th century, fur taxes collected from Siberia's indigenous peoples once made up a quarter, sometimes even a third, of the entire Russian imperial treasury's revenue. A single sable pelt, small and soft, carried enough weight to redraw an entire national border. But there's another moment in Siberian history that has nothing to do with fur, conquest, or exile at all. On the morning of June 30th, 1908, near the Podkamennaya-Tunguska River, a massive explosion suddenly tore through the sky, its force estimated at thousands of times the power of the Hiroshima atomic bomb. the blast flattened roughly 80 million trees across more than 2,000 kilometers squared of taiga forest. Yet strangely, left behind no impact crater whatsoever on the ground. It would take nearly 2 decades before the first scientific expedition finally reached the site. Even today, scientists still debate whether it was an asteroid or a comet that exploded in mid-air. And perhaps that's exactly why the name Tunguska still haunts the human imagination over a century later. However, there's another chapter of Siberian history, far less peaceful. This land gradually became a place of exile. From the Tsarist era through to the Gulag labor camp system under the Soviet Union, millions of people were sent here, many of them the very ones who built the roads, railways, and infrastructure Siberia still relies on today. Western researchers estimate that in the period between 1918 and 1956 alone, somewhere between 1.2 and 1.7 million people died within this system, a figure that remains contested across different historical sources. A great many of these people were never recorded in any history book, yet their footprints remain, stretched across the very project that connected all of Siberia together. That project is the Trans-Siberian Railway, stretching more than 9,289 kilometers, linking Moscow with Vladivostok. To travel its full length, a passenger has to cross through 8 different time zones, making it the longest railway line in the world. Most of this railway was built entirely by human labor, within only a short window each year, before the brutal winter set in. Before the section circling Lake Baikal was completed, trains once had to cross the lake by ferry in summer and directly across its frozen surface in winter. Building this railway also gave rise to many cities that are now major hubs across Siberia: Omsk, Novosibirsk, Krasnoyarsk, Irkutsk, all of which grew from the flow of people and goods along the tracks. Among these cities, Novosibirsk also gave rise to a remarkable district called Akademgorodok, the academic city, built by the Soviet Union deep in the taiga during the late 1950s, gathering dozens of the country's top research institutes in one place. The idea was fairly simple: pull the country's brightest minds away from the center of power in Moscow, letting them research freely in a place that seemed to hold nothing but trees and snow. And although construction began back in the late 19th century, it wasn't until 2002 that the entire line was finally fully electrified. In other words, a project regarded as the very symbol of Russia's connectivity took more than a century to actually be completed. And on its long journey, that same train will carry you right past something even greater than itself. Lake Baikal is the deepest and oldest freshwater lake on Earth, formed roughly 25 million years ago, reaching a maximum depth of nearly 1,700 meters. Lake Baikal holds 20% of all the unfrozen fresh water on Earth, more than the combined total of North America's 5 Great Lakes. It's also the only place in the world home to a species of seal that lives entirely in fresh water, the Nerpa. In winter, the lake's surface freezes glass clear, solid enough to bear the weight of a truck. Trapped within that ice are thousands of frozen methane bubbles, creating one of the strangest natural sights ever captured on camera, one that has gone viral around the world in recent years. On Olkhon Island, in the middle of the lake, sits the shamanic spiritual center of the entire Siberian region, where locals still tie colorful ribbons to wooden posts as a prayer directed toward the spirits of nature. But Siberia's resources aren't found only within its lakes. They also lie deep beneath the frozen ground, shaping the entire economy of this land. Western Siberia is Russia's largest oil and gas reserve, with fields stretching along the Ob River and surrounding areas. In the Sakha Republic, a thriving diamond industry centers around the Mir mine, one of the largest man-made pits in the world, more than 500 meters deep and over 1,200 meters wide. There's a fairly widespread story. Airspace directly above this massive pit was once restricted, out of concern that unusual air currents could interfere with aircraft engines. Alongside this large-scale industry, traditional livelihoods have endured just as steadily: reindeer herding, fishing along the great rivers, and hunting in the taiga forest. But not everything pulled from Siberian soil has brought glory. In Krasnoyarsk Krai, the city of Norilsk sits directly atop one of the largest nickel-copper-palladium deposits on the planet, and is also the second largest city built entirely on permafrost anywhere in the world, behind only Yakutsk. It's also one of the few remaining closed cities left in Russia. Foreigners hoping to visit need to apply for special permission first. The cost of that enormous mineral wealth hasn't been small either. The city's smelting plants release millions of tons of sulfur dioxide every year, a figure often compared to emissions from an actively erupting volcano, blanketing the skies around the city in gray haze year-round, and making Norilsk one of the most polluted places on Earth. In recent years, eastern Siberia has also taken on a new role, the starting point of one of the longest gas pipelines in the world, called Power of Siberia, carrying gas from underground fields across the border into China. It's clear proof that, despite sitting in one of the most remote and coldest places on the planet, Siberia still plays a central role in the region's energy decisions. And between these two extremes, large-scale industrialization and traditions that have endured for thousands of years, everyday life here still keeps a rhythm entirely its own. The most distinctive dish of the Sakha people is called stroganina, a whole fish frozen solid, then shaved into paper-thin slices and eaten straight away while still cold, seasoned with nothing but a bit of salt and pepper. In a place where vegetables can barely grow year-round, this seemingly simple dish once served as a vital source of vitamins, helping locals fend off rickets for centuries. Alongside the food, banya culture, traditional steam bathing, is also an inseparable part of daily life. People steam themselves in intense heat, then dash straight out into the snow right afterward, a ritual balancing two temperature extremes, seen as a way to cleanse both body and spirit. Farther north, the Nenets people still maintain a nomadic lifestyle alongside their reindeer herds, living in cone-shaped tents called chums, built from dozens of wooden poles and covered in reindeer hide. Every year, Nenets families undertake a round-trip migration of about 800 miles across the Yamal Peninsula, equivalent to a journey across several U.S. states, all in search of fresh pasture for their reindeer. This life, bound up with ice and snow, has also given rise to sports entirely its own. In Yakutsk, the sport of mass wrestling, two people facing off, each pulling a wooden stick toward themselves, draws even world championship tournaments, held right in this frigid city. For the Nenets, there's one day of the year more eagerly awaited than any other: Reindeer Herders' Day. On that day, reindeer sled races, lasso throwing contests, and wrestling matches fill the tundra with excitement. And the most prestigious prize for the winner isn't cash, but a motorized snowmobile. For families who still migrate hundreds of miles every year in search of pasture, a snowmobile like that is worth more than any other prize could ever be. Except this life bound to the ice, one that has endured for thousands of years, is now facing a change without precedent. Before we talk about that change, let's mention a hopeful story of recovery: the Siberian tiger, the largest cat in the world. In the 1940s, the wild Siberian tiger population had dropped to fewer than 40 individuals. Thanks to decades of conservation efforts, that population has since recovered to more than 750 individuals today, accounting for roughly 95% of all remaining wild Siberian tigers on Earth. But on another front, the very permafrost that has preserved this wilderness for tens of thousands of years is now beginning to thaw. At the massive Batagaika crater, sometimes called the gateway to the underworld, the frozen ground is gradually being exposed, revealing what's been locked inside for tens of thousands of years. In late 2024, locals discovered a baby mammoth, roughly 50,000 years old, thawing out of the crater's own walls. They hauled it out using a makeshift stretcher, and scientists later confirmed it was one of the best preserved specimens ever found anywhere in the world. It's both a rare scientific marvel and a warning sign, because alongside the thawing ice, reports have also flagged real risks to infrastructure, along with methane being released back into the atmosphere, a feedback loop that could accelerate global warming itself. And thawing permafrost isn't the only sign that Siberia is changing. In June 2026, authorities in Krasnoyarsk Krai declared a region-wide state of emergency, as smoke from a wave of wildfires blanketed towns across the north. At one point, the region accounted for nearly half of all wildfires recorded across all of Russia. Local officials say that alongside unusually intense heat, a booming population of Siberian silk moth caterpillars, thriving in the warmer conditions, has stripped entire stretches of coniferous forest bare, leaving trees weakened and far more prone to catching fire. Even more concerning is a phenomenon scientists call zombie fires, blazes that smolder quietly through the carbon-rich peat all winter long, hidden beneath the snow, only to flare back up the moment spring warmth arrives. A cycle that not even Siberia's legendary cold can fully hold back anymore. And sometimes, this change shows up in ways no one could have predicted. Since 2014, on the Yamal Peninsula in western Siberia, people have begun documenting strange, deep craters suddenly appearing across the tundra, some more than 45 meters deep. These are the result of methane accumulating underground, compressed until it explodes and blasts soil and rock straight into the air. A phenomenon that has only emerged within the past decade, but one that serves as a clear reminder: whatever lies deep beneath that ice doesn't always choose to wake up quietly. In other words, a territory that once froze and preserved everything for tens of thousands of years is now gradually opening up, giving back exactly what it once sheltered. Throughout this video, we've talked a great deal about the cold. As a challenge, an obstacle, a harsh condition people have had to find ways to adapt to. But perhaps there's another way to look at this land. This coldest place on the planet doesn't only destroy, it also preserves. It has protected, however unintentionally, the painful memories of the people once sent here, locked in frozen ground across generations. And it's still holding on to a way of life, almost entirely unchanged for thousands of years, in a world changing at a dizzying pace. If the cold can preserve a creature for 50,000 years, completely unchanged, then in your own life right now, is there something you wish you could freeze in place, so it would never be lost? We don't have an answer to that question, but perhaps that's exactly why Siberia, harsh as it is, always draws people back for one more look. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you'd like to keep exploring places that hold fascinating mysteries like this one with us, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.